I'm Charlotte Nicdao, and Just Hack is holding me hostage. I didn't want to do this podcast, but my friend Takaya made me. I have never even been asked to audition for Neighbours.
Is that true?
That is a rude awakening. It's so funny. Charlotte Nicdao is doing devil worship at lunchtime. I had to hit on Liam Hemsworth.
Before we get stuck into today's conversation, I want to thank the official beauty partner of Just Hack, beautyboat.com. They have supported us from the very beginning, and they are stepping into this new era with us. Whether you are looking for Egyptian Magic Beauty Cream, the By Terry and Tan Luxe ranges, or their legendary Discovery boxes, they curate absolute Tier 1 products. For our long-time listeners, the legacy code is still active. Use BIN25, BIN25 at checkout for 25% off your entire order. Head to beautyboat.com today, and thank you for supporting the brands that support this platform. G'day, 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 and welcome to Just Hack and Charlotte Nicdao. For those of you who don't know who Charlotte Nicdao is, you should, because she's amazing. We actually started as brother and sister on a series called A Girl's World, and she's gone on to kick some major goals, including playing the lead opposite Rob McElhenney in Apple TV's Mythic Quest. And if you don't know who Rob McElhenney is, you'd know him from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or Welcome to Wrexham. Him and Ryan Reynolds purchased the team. So he's that guy. He's now Rob Mack. I think people still know him mostly as Rob Mack. Anyway, Rob Mack, that guy. If you haven't seen Mythic Quest and you've got Apple TV, it's well worth checking out. It's hilarious, and it's just a great show. So check that out. But she's also voiced things like Bluey, Star Trek, Lower Decks, Solar Opposites, so many things. She's been in a bunch of series as well. She's got some amazing stories. She's an amazing talent. She's super charismatic, which you'll find in this interview. So please enjoy Charlotte Nicdao. I actually wanted to start with how incestuous our televisual lives have been, in that we met. Your brain clocking what I'm talking about is so good there.
What are you talking? In which bits have been incestuous? Okay, go on.
In that
we met as brother and sister.
As brother and sister on a show called A Girl's World, which we should talk about. But on Neighbours, your real life dad played a red herring David's dad, who was very keen on getting a hamburger when he went to the hospital.
So this is a real point of contention between his and my career. Not contention. What would the word be? Competitiveness? I don't know. He's been on Neighbours a few times.
As different people.
I have never even been asked to audition for Neighbours. It's like, honestly, heartbreaking to me because it's such a stalwart of Australian television. I mean, you and I have talked about this. Like, I've got a real chip on my shoulder about A, having never been on Neighbours, but B, having never even been, like, considered to maybe be on Neighbours. I'm like, every single massive Australian star has got their Neighbours or Home and Away story. And I've not been on either of those shows. And my dad has.
Well, I guess you're just not set out to be a major star then.
Okay, all right.
No, I don't. Oh, wait. I don't think Hugh Jackman ever did. That was the first name that came to my mind where I don't think he'd be one of the other.
So I'm like the next Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, why not? You got the musical talent to do it.
I don't have the dancing
the
talent.
Dance talent, yeah. Although A Girl's World, I think everyone should go and check out Charlotte's stunt doubles dancing, and then see the sharp cut to Charlotte's actual dancing.
I feel like every scene where you see my character do some impressive dancing, it's like amazing twirling and a high kick and there's splits. You can never see my head. And then right at the end, it'll just cut to my face, like breathing heavily. Like, oh, she must have been the one that did it. Yeah, because she's out of breath. Not only was I meant to be a dancer of any kind, but I was meant to be the best dancer of the three. Like, I was meant to be like the shining star. And like, if you ever watch me and Money Kennedy move our bodies in any way next to each other, it's like no one's ever believing that I'm a better dancer than she is. But the stunt double was really good.
I will never forget there was like a dance where the three of you had like a solo moment in the middle,
Oh,
and
God,
each person had a
no.
special move, and like Marnie's was like a kick and a spin thing, and yours was just hands out wide.
Yeah, it was
That's like
literally
your
just hands on my chest and then out wide.
And it's like, oh my God, what a move.
We recorded, the three girls recorded the soundtrack for the show before we even shot the show. Every single song featured on that show is just the three main cast singing it. I think it was because that was way cheaper than licensing any music or hiring professional musicians. I'm almost certain we didn't get paid anything extra to record those songs. And I was already like it was my first job, and I was just dreading the fact that I knew we had to dance because I was and continue to be a terrible dancer. I think the main difference is that 30-something-year-old Charlotte doesn't care.
Now, you just lied, Charlotte. You said that was your first job, and that's not true. You did
No,
the
it
Elephant
wasn't.
Princess and some other thing, didn't you?
I did the Elephant Princess where I had to hit on Liam Hemsworth. That was the
Is that true?
scene. That's the scene that in the Elephant Princess, which was, I think that was my first. No, I did another job in a show called Fergus MacPhail where I had to play a Muslim girl that didn't speak English. That's job number 1. Job number 2 was Elephant Princess hitting on Liam Hemsworth.
That's obviously the start of your show reel is that, right?
It's not, but it should be. It absolutely should be. Yeah. Isn't that wild?
He was on Neighbours, actually.
Was he really? Oh,
yeah, he played
of course he was.
a kid in a wheelchair, I think.
Really?
That's all I know about it. Yeah, I think
Careful,
it was like
Liam,
6 weeks or something.
taking jobs. Taking jobs from people who could maybe better represent their ability.
Yeah. Well, Neighbours has done much better since then, or at least during the time I was there and had.
I mean,
people with real disability. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Neighbours actually is like one of the best shows in terms of like creating representation on Australian television. So just if you get remade Neighbours, I'm not throwing any shade. Please put me in the show. Filipino representation on Neighbours. Ready to go.
And your dad can come back as your dad
as my dad. Oh, I could come back as his character's daughter.
Yeah, he was like a homeless bum, but I guess you could be like in search of him and you come and find that we had. And then you just stick around for some reason.
I'm like the successful lawyer daughter that like threw him out of his own house. I could be a villain.
To teach him a lesson.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
But then she will be the one that learns the lesson at the end of the day. Or dies. I could die.
Yeah.
Happy to die.
You don't have to learn a lesson. The characters don't have to learn a lesson. The audience does. So.
She could be a villain. You got to not just be on Neighbours, but die on Neighbours.
I did.
There's nothing more iconic.
And
than to die on Neighbours.
I don't think I've told this story in the pod, but 2 months after I filmed that death scene, you messaged me and say, "Hey, me and some friends are going to like a watering hole swimming." Oh no, we'd gone to dinner or something with a group of friends.
Yeah.
They said, "We're going swimming in a watering hole tomorrow. Do you want to come along?" And I was like, "Sure." We went to one place and it was too muddy, and some people said, "Oh, why don't you go to this place?" And we're like, "Oh, okay." So we all jump in the car and we go there, and we're walking through this bush track, and then we turn a corner. And I'm like, oh, I died here. And I have this weird, like, out-of-body experience of trying to process everything that's going on.
You're like, I spent a really intense time in this exact place that you have brought me to for a relaxing afternoon.
And it was on the opposite side of the quarry dam lake thing that it is. And we were just staring at where I had been sitting and I died, or the cliff that I fell off, and I didn't know what to do with myself.
How did you feel in that moment? Were you like, because obviously it's like it's acting, it's not real, but also when you're having to perform something really intense, like you feel real feelings. So when you come back to a site where you had to perform something intense, I don't know if I've ever had that experience. Like I haven't anything intense that I've ever had to do has not been on location. So I could not be surprised by showing up back there again.
And just to explain to the audience why I didn't know where we were going or where we were, was because when you're when we were performing those scenes, our unit base, which is where we all meet and that kind of stuff in the morning to get makeup and stuff, is somewhere else, and then they drove us in there, and we drove right down to it, which you can't drive to publicly. It's only because they had got permits and whatever to go and film there, so we drove down and they dropped us off.
And I don't know about you, but when you're getting driven down, you're usually either, if you're a good actor, like looking at your lines or running them or like getting into character. And if you're a bad actor like me, you're like just, talking shit with the rest of the people.
I don't think
car.
That's a bad or a good actor thing. It's just dependent on what you need to perform the role. Yeah. It was performance, but it was of a character who I had lived in for 8 years. Whose entire backstory wasn't just a fictional thing that was like, okay, here's the backstory of the character that I'm using. I had lived the backstory for 8 years. So he was a part of my brain.
How many episodes did you guys make every year?
It changed depending on the variety of contracts, but I think it was around 240 or something.
What? 240 episodes?
Yeah.
So
we were shooting, when I first started, it was 6 episodes a week for 40 weeks. And then it went to 5 episodes a week, 43 or 46 weeks. But I wasn't so when I started, I was on 3 eps of the 6 eps a week. And then I went up to 4 eps.
I knew it was a lot, but that is blowing my mind. Because, okay, I can't do the math quickly. So that means how many episodes did you film?
So I personally actually, so IMDb includes the credits, right? The episodes under the credits, which is every episode since when I started till when I finished, which is like just under 1,500, I think. But the actual episodes I'm in is, my count is 816.
That is insane. That is absolutely wild. Okay, so you do 816, is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Episodes of television playing a character. When that character dies, that's different to the only time I've ever died was on a mini series that was 3 episodes long.
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say I've lived this person. His brain was my brain. When I stepped in, it became so automatic to be David that at a certain point, anyone on the show goes, am I acting? And it's like, yes, you are, but it's just so effortless because you don't have to think about it. You know everything about the character.
Because I guess I had that feeling somewhat playing Poppy on Mythic Quest of being
Round of applause, everyone. Apple TV series playing the lead opposite Rob McElhenney, who's now Rob Mac.
Just give me a little bit of credit for playing Poppy on Mythic Quest?
You need to watch Mythic Quest, not only because it's just a great show, but because Charlotte is phenomenal in it.
Because I'm in it and I'm phenomenal in it. And
and your husband's music's in it too.
And my husband's music's in it, and my husband's body is in it.
Oh yes, his body is in it.
Because we made an episode during COVID, and he had to play. He played Rob McElhenney. I mean, he's Rob to me. He's just Rob to me. But yeah, Baden, my husband, played his body double standing in my doorway, giving me a hug in the COVID episode that we filmed in the very first weeks of the pandemic, when we were basically just trying to figure out if we could keep making the show even in the terrible, terrible circumstances that the world found itself in. I think mainly because, crews wait for the start of filming of a season so that they can make their paychecks to feed their families. We had just started filming season 2 and then everything got shut down. So then it was like, okay, well, can we still make an episode using the whole crew and film it during in these quarantine conditions? And we did. And the best thing that came out of it was that Baden had to pretend to be Rob with a face mask on. Okay, so
we've jumped ahead to Mythic Quest, but I want to stay on it while we're on it, because can you tell the story of how you auditioned for Mythic Quest? Because it's pretty incredible.
Basically, I had been going to LA for many years to audition. And I would often get close to stuff, but I would never
Not
book.
just stuff. You were really close to like Star Wars and
Yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
I was
Stuff.
lucky. Like, I got to do like director's sessions for some really like solid roles. Something happened that made me be like, I don't want to do the LA thing anymore. I'm sick of saving all my money and then spending it all to go to this city that just tells me I'm not good enough over and over again. I'm just not going to do it anymore. But I had a trip booked and I was like, this is going to be my last trip. So I show up for my last trip to LA. I get dinner with my then manager, who is like, hey, listen, I've got too many clients. And I was like, and it's crazy because I mean, every actor has been through a version of this where like you're not delivering and whoever, your boss, your teacher, your agent, your friend is like, is this where you should be really? And if you're anything like me, what that did was like, it just like lit this fire where I was like, yes. I was like, I'm in the best creative shape I've ever been in. Like, you just have to like send me into any room. Just send me into a room and I'm going to book it. And she was like, all right. And
All right.
Fine. And then the next day I went in for my first audition for Mythic Quest. And I remember sitting in the waiting room and being like, wow, this is going to be my last audition in Hollywood. And then it was for a while because I booked the job and I had a job.
You got a call back.
There's more to the story.
This is where it gets really interesting, I feel, though.
So the second half of the story is I auditioned for Poppy. They were like, you're too young to play this character, basically, which has never once happened in Hollywood to a woman. So then they were like, come back and audition for one of the other characters, which I did. And they put me in one of those roles as one of the testers, which is like one of the game testers in this game development studio that the show is set in. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a series regular in a TV show in LA. Like, this is
in the last
like,
audition I was ever going to do in LA.
in the last audition I was ever going to do in LA. Like, this is a dream. I remember before the table read getting this pilot script, like the official pilot script, and it had like the names of the cast on the first page. And I just remember reading Danny Pudi's name, who is like already like such a hero of mine from his work on Community. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And I went in and I did the table read and I like read my like 5 lines or whatever I had in the pilot with like as much like gusto as I could. And then I got a call, I think the next day, being like, and I think what a lot of people don't realize is in the casting for shows like this, 1 million people get a say. So it's like, first, maybe the director or the writers get to say the casting director gets to say something. And then the producers might get to say something. And then the director gets to say something. And then the studio. And then the network. It's like it goes up and up and up. And the final boss for really locking in the cast is this table read. So everyone gets a little bit nervous at the table read that like, is network going to be like, yes, this is the cast, you're all in. And I got a call like a couple of days after this table read and my heart just sank like, oh my God, I'm not going to be in the show. And what the call actually was there have been a bunch of discussions after this table read, and we've actually decided that we want you to play Poppy, which was completely surreal. Like, just after so many years of going to this city and being told over and over again, it's not you, it's not you, it's not you, to then be told not only is it you, but like, you know that character that you originally auditioned for that was like the one that you felt the most passionate about, the one that you were like, this has to be the character that I play, and then we were like, actually it's not. It's that one. You do get to play that character. Like, you don't really get many happy conclusions in this job,
Industry,
right?
yeah. And I've got to compliment you as well by giving the background of, well, at least what you had told me, in that they were worried that because you were younger and of Asian heritage too, that opposite Rob, it'd be a weird power dynamic which could look really bad because it could just like he's beating down on this younger
and
girl.
Props to them for really thinking about that.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I think that's important.
But the compliment to you is that then when the show comes out and you are playing opposite him, I don't think at any point it didn't cross my mind that the power dynamic wasn't two juggernauts going against each other, you know?
That's so sweet. Thank you so much. I feel like that's the main thing in my work that I worry about, is that I come across as a little weakling. And that sounds like a joke, but it is actually true. It is actually.
That's why Charlotte was coming to me while she was filming, going, "Can you help me get strong?" We did some hill sprints.
Oh my gosh! Remember doing those hill sprints? That was awful. I've never forgiven you for making me do that. I don't think I've ever gotten as close to throwing up from working out as I did. You know, when we did those hill sprints, every time we did them, at the end of it, I would get a absolutely splitting headache. Like,
drink more water.
Immediately after finishing those hill sprints, I would be like, oh my God, my head's going to explode. My body was rejecting that workout, Tucker.
I've always said, like, between us, how I've described us work-wise was that we've kind of leapfrogged each other, which in a real sense has been me hoping that then I would leapfrog you.
You're gonna. You're gonna.
Oh my God. You've generally been the leader in that.
You gave me a compliment once. Maybe once. Like over 10 years ago. That is still, that was such a compliment to me that I am still like, I remember that. Which was literally that I had cut together a show reel for myself, and I sent it to you, and you very to ask you, like, how do you think this works? And you very earnestly said to me, is there anything you're not good at? Which sounds like such a throwaway comment, but I just remember at the time thinking, because I admired you so much, not anymore, but back then I really admired you.
Yeah, it's gone downhill since then.
I just remember being like, oh my gosh, Takaya thinks I'm good at stuff.
Post A Girl's World, which is where we met, you had the next decent stuff beyond that. Because my next big thing, like, I did plays and stuff, but like screen-wise...
I was about to say, because in my mind it was that you were doing Shakespeare. So that, to me, pretty much trumps any screen
Such a real actor.
It was real acting. You played Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
I mean,
I did for many years.
Come on.
Well, that's just a frame of reference. Like, for me, I was like, I was just doing that. No, but like screen-wise... Well, that's it. But isn't that so funny? I feel like this is such... Sorry to now, again, go off the rails, but I feel like that's such a thing, is like, you always are looking at someone else's career, life, like, world, and being like, oh, well, obviously that's the achievement. Like, obviously that's the thing. Yeah, but I think, like, for our relationship too, our individual careers have informed each other's careers, or mental about our careers in such big ways, of like having to face certain things or certain challenges and that kind of stuff. We've kind of been able to support each other really well through that, I think.
That's so true.
What you did, well, close to after A Girl's World, was the slap, which became a huge sensation, right? So that was a big one. And then now I'm looking at your IMDb.
The old
and then the
IMDb.
next you did The Time of Our Lives, but the next big thing was really Camp. And that was really a turning point, right?
I remember all of us thinking on that show, this is our big break. And then feeling afterwards like, oh, well, it absolutely wasn't, because I'm back working retail. But it was a big turning point for a lot of us on that show. And especially, I can speak for myself, that it was the first time that I really considered that there was a career to be had outside of Australia. Camp was a sitcom for NBC, an American sitcom that was like kind of I guess, an experiment. It wasn't an experiment, but it was one of the first shows to film in Australia. Hilariously set at an American summer camp, but filmed near Byron Bay in Australia with an entirely Australian cast all pretending to be Americans.
Why
and
not?
It was true. Yeah, why not? We had like 2 weeks of accent coaching that has been like a real foundational skill set for me since then, even though in the end, like my biggest role, I have an Australian accent in. It was like being on summer camp. It was so much fun. Like we all stayed in this fancy hotel. For most of us, it was our first big job. Like it was so fun. I'm still really good friends with a lot of the cast from that show. Like that was an amazing. That's like one of those, when people talk about like the good old days, even as I was making that show, I was like, this is the good old days. Like I know I'm in it right now. And it was.
Yeah. Why do you act?
Because I hate myself? No.
Not why are you an actor? No. I said, why do you act?
Why do I act? Someone, probably maybe my husband, and he was like, what is the thing that you were best at when you were a kid, or that made you happiest when you were a kid? Because that's the thing to reconnect to as an adult, to like feel joy.
And I love that.
I know. He's a great guy. I was like, the thing that I was best at and that exhilarated me as a child was I used to make up elaborate make-believe games that everybody would get involved in, like everyone in the class. Like it would be a 50-person game with like full lore and characters and conflict, and every lunchtime the bell would ring, lunch starts, the game starts, and it would basically just be like this epic ongoing story that everyone had their role to play, and it would carry on from lunchtime to lunchtime to lunchtime, and I would just, it was like the greatest time of my life. I made up this game called it's so funny. I made up this game called wURLs, and it was basically that we were this group of witches, essentially, that our power came from the wind. And so if it was a particularly windy day, like it would be chaos. But if it was like a less windy day, we had to like go and find a way to make breeze. So like we had to like run really fast with our arms behind us and stuff. And then my friend Lacey Ray was part of the Red Devil like sect that was like the Wind Girls' natural enemies. And so we would do these whole games where like we would have to like meet and like battle with the elements, and then there would be like secret like alliances between, and then a lot of the game as well would just be us all sitting in a circle and holding hands, and me like talking through an adventure like Dungeons and Dragons, like performing basically like the story. Anyway, it was really fun, but then one girl, I think, started to get nightmares based on the game, and told her mom, and her mom came into the school and was like, Charlotte Nicdao is doing devil worship at lunchtime. And my teacher, who was the best, she was my favorite teacher, Ms. Van Klinken. Shout out to Ms. Van Klinken, she's my favorite teacher in primary school, like had me stay in during lunchtime once to be like, what's this game? Like maybe let me understand it. And I sort of explained it to her, and she's like, and where did you get the idea? And I was like, I read it in a book, a complete lie. And she was like, okay, well, maybe bring the book into class and we can have a look at the book as a class, and that will sort of help to assuage like anyone that's sort of feeling a bit fearful. Anyway, I went home. This is my favorite story about my mother. I went home and I was like, I got in trouble for devil worship. I told them I got it out of a book. What do I do? And she was like, well, we have to write the book. So we spent the weekend writing out the book on wURLs. Like, this was like our weekend project. She typed it up. We put it in a curly font. We tea stained and burnt the edges of the book. Like, this is so funny. Like, why did she do this with me?
Did you take this handmade book in as like evidence that you found this book?
Yeah. So then I went into school and I was like, here, Ms. Van Klinken, here's the book that I learned about wURLs from. And she like looked at it and was like, okay, you can't do
By
this
Charlotte
anymore.
Nicdao on the front.
Yeah. I guess my answer to your question, why do you act, is because I'm a psycho. Why do you act?
A good example of it was when I was auditioning for NIDA. And I remember being in the room because how NIDA would audition, you'd turn up as like 30 people. They'd split you into two halves, and they'd have half the teachers in one room and the other half in the other room, and you'd switch rooms doing whichever monologues you got to do. And I remember doing a monologue, and there's 14, 15 people there who are also auditioning, and then the three teachers or whatever. And I just remember doing it, and I could feel that I had them, and that it's not like they were listening or that they were engaged necessarily. It was just, I don't know the words to say, but I could feel that we had become
You're
kind
in
of
that
one
moment together.
Yeah, we're in the space. We're one in the space all together, and whatever I was doing, they were moving with me, kind of thing. And every now, it doesn't happen all the time, but you can have those moments on set or on stage where there's that feeling of everyone is feeling this
the connectedness
with me. Yeah. And that's the artist side of me. That's how I answer why I act, because that being able to have that connection in that way is something really special. And I don't know how else I would get that. Here's something random to talk about because we just got really deep on something. You've got you in the last week or two decided to switch to a dumb phone. One weekend. Can we see a dumb phone? So show me a dumb phone.
Here it is.
Oh wow, it's a flip phone.
It's a flip phone.
Ooh.
I have some new messages. See, there's not a lot to look at on there because it's just messages and calls. And the reason that I got this particular one is because it's one of the only ones that also has WhatsApp, because
I was going to say that. Like,
I need to be able to do group messages, and I need to be able to message and call internationally. But other than that, this is what happened to me. I took my kid to the playground. We went and got a coffee, went back to the playground, realized I had left my phone at the cafe. So we went back to the cafe and it wasn't there and no one had handed it in. And I was like, oh no. So then we retraced our steps back to the playground, couldn't find it. And I was like, someone took it. Like, I've left it on the table and someone's taken it and it's gone and I'm free. Like, my first feeling wasn't panic that my phone had been stolen. My first thought was like, oh my God, thank God it's gone. Like, I don't have to have it anymore. Like, I'm not going to buy a new one. I'm just going to get a dumb phone, and I just don't have to have, this doesn't have to rule my life and my time and my sense of being anymore. I'm done. And then I found it on the ground. And my heart sank. I was like, oh no, there it is. It's still here. Put baby down for a nap, spent 2 hours scrolling TikTok. And then I was like, yeah, so I can actually make this choice myself. It doesn't have to be a choice that's made for me. So I went out the next day and I got a dumb phone and I've been using it for a week. So right now, I think it's safe to say it's an experiment, not a full lifestyle choice, because I'm a week in. It's very early days.
So is this the current setup? You've only used a dumb phone. Where's the other phone?
So the other phone, my plan for it is that I'm going to get a SIM card for it and and just have it in my car to use for GPS and like for maps and for like Spotify and podcasts and stuff, because at the moment I am trying to find my way around Melbourne without maps and it's not going well for me.
No, because street signs in Melbourne are bad. Like, there's so many. I was walking around, I'm like, what street is this? And there's
Where
no sign
am
saying.
I? And like add that to also I am completely navigationally challenged and I just have no. When I thought that I was meant to be recording this at your house, I don't know why I thought that that's what the plan was. I was like,
It's a fair
how
thought.
am I gonna get to Takaya's house without maps? Anyway, glad that instead I'm in my horribly lit lounge room. But yeah, I will have it, I think, to use for that purpose. And then other than that, nothing. I guess I should probably sign into my socials once a week. Like, I'm still figuring this out. With my smartphone, it's like I have endless accessibility to endless people, not just people that I care about, but like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people all over the world that I can see their faces, hear their voices, know what's going on with them. And endless people have access to me. And it has created what I'm now realizing is this environment of total overwhelm where like just being on my phone, looking at it or being near it at all feels like there's 50 million things to attend to and I just can't do it. And what I've realized, and 50 million things to attend to, and I can't do it, and I'm already like completely overwhelmed by the social whatever of it all, so that even in-person interactions feel like it's like overfilling an already full cup of social interaction. In this past week, since I've just been off of not just social media, but also the sort of ease that a smartphone allows you to communicate with people. There's 5 different messaging apps that I'm messaging on at any given time. It's really easy to type big, long messages. And so it always feels like the message needs to have some heft or like, have some thought put into it or whatever. I don't know. There's just like so many elements to being available and accessible on a smartphone.
Actually, coming back to Mythic Quest, like, this was really the biggest thing.
Yeah, totally.
That
This
you've
was
done.
like,
But
yeah, this was like the thing that I pictured as what success would look like for my career. Like
Yeah.
the top, like to the point where when I got that job and I made that show, I had to reassess my ambition because I was like, oh, well, this is it. I've done it.
Yeah.
now.
What do I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah. In what ways did it meet your expectations and what ways did it not?
It really was. It was a dream gig. It was incredible creatively. I was given the opportunity to be so silly and also so in my heart. Like I got to like dig deep and I also got to be like ridiculous. I made lifelong friends. I laughed all day. I got to do some really glamorous stuff. Like it was a dream. And the ways that it didn't meet my expectations is it didn't make me feel like a complete person. You know? The way that you always think that achieving your dreams is going to make you feel like now I've got everything that I need. Because guess what? It's all fucking internal stuff, isn't it? You just have to be stoic and like be happy with who you are with nothing, and then you'll be happy with everything. What I'll say, and we've had conversations about this, like just as friends privately, not on a podcast. But I will say that I feel like since I've had my son, there's been a recalibration of that drive that you're talking about, that drive to prove myself. Like it's become, I'm trying to put this succinctly, but it's become being an actor has become much more about the creativity that I get to express through that work than it is about like needing to get to the top, which you would almost think that it would be the other way around when you start a family. But for me, it's like, I think that like I had a baby and my whole perspective of the world shifted in terms of like what brings happiness. Just creating something is enough. And it doesn't have to be seen by however many people, and it doesn't even have to be liked by however many people. Like, just to make something that feels worthwhile is such a gift, like such a gift that we get to create something. And I'd never thought that poetically about acting before.
Do you have any crazy celebrity stories or anything from that time?
You know that Snoop Dogg came and did guest appearance on an episode of Mythic
Little
Quest.
cameo.
And we had a scene together where we walked down a hallway together. And to do that scene, the crew is all set up in the hallway. Like the cameras are all set up in the hallway, and we had to be behind a door that was like essentially like a door to nowhere. And then they would say action, and then Snoop Dogg would walk through this door, and then I would sort of like chase him through. And so before each take, we just had to stand outside this door together, just the two of us. And I was like, it's Snoop Dogg. Like what? Like I was like, I should say something. Like, what do I say? Were you
standing there silent?
Yes, I was standing there totally silent. First take, we stand there totally silent, saying nothing. Then we do the scene. Second take, he goes, I guess after the first take, he heard me talking. And so then the second take, he goes to me, and I'm not going to do a Snoop Dogg impression, but he goes to me like, so where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from Australia. And he goes, he like sort of like looks at me for a second and then leans in and goes, down under. And I said, yeah. And then we didn't say anything else to each other for the rest of the shoot. So that was my brush with Snoop Dogg.
You're about to shoot a film, but you shot a film last year. Do we know when it's coming out?
We don't. I cannot give you information when it's coming out. I believe it's coming out this year. But
are you allowed to say anything about it?
I think so.
What's it called?
It's a film that's going to come out on Netflix later this year, and it is the first film made by Ludo, the first live action feature film made by Ludo Studios, who made a little show called Bluey.
Oh, I didn't even get to bloody talk about all your voice work, Adventure Time.
Oh,
Bluey.
yeah, I've done some voice work. That's my little fun little...
Star Trek, Lower Decks.
We'll have to do a follow-up.
Are we going to?
Now
because
that I've got my tech set up.
We've got Alan's the name of the film, right?
Alan is the name of the film.
So it's on IMDb, so you can...
Oh, it's on IMDb. I can talk about it. The movie is called Alan.
Can you give a very, very basic plot? So it's adventure, drama, family is the genres that are listed here. Oh, Sophie Miller's producing.
And it is adventure, drama, family. And yes, she worked on Family Law with you.
She did.
Right? Yeah, I think she co-wrote the script.
Of Alan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she did. It's listed here. Her and Daly Pearson.
Yes.
And
it's Daly's baby, who's a very talented writer-director and a friend that I've worked with a few times now. Once on a voice thing.
So it's more nepotism, is it?
It's more. No, it's not nepotism. I'm not his daughter. He just worked with me once and was like, "She's talented."
She's like my daughter. I'm
It's
going to treat her
the
as such.
opposite
We
of
know the
nepotism.
realities.
It's
literally...
It's a meritocracy.
It's literal meritocracy. Well, on that note, you'll have to come back when it comes out, and you'd
Great
have finished
idea.
filming the other one, I'm assuming, then.
Yeah.
And we probably won't be able to talk about it. We might have some fun adventures that you might talk about.
Oh, I'll never run out of things to talk about either in life or on a podcast.
Well, that's good to hear. And we should plug your own podcast.
Oh, yeah. Listen to my podcast. It's called At the Movies with Charlotte and Bron. We talk about Australian film, sort of, but it honestly plays a lot more like what this podcast episode sounded like. Any podcast that I'm a part of is not going to stay on topic. So we kind of talk about Muriel's wedding, but we also just talk a lot of shit.
Thank you very much for joining me, Charlotte Nicdao, world-famous actor.
Thank you so much for having me, Takaya Honda, world-famous actor.
That sounds so like ego of us. Like, it's an in-joke, everyone. It's an in-joke. And now you're a part of it.
That's how we refer to each other.
That's when we pick up the phone and we call each other. That's how we greet each other. It's a real ego boost for us.
We need the ego boost.
Yeah, that's fine.
I love you, friend.
Love you, and thank you for coming. You know what? When I'm right, I'm right. Did I not say... Actually, I don't know what I said, but you enjoyed that, right? She is incredible. What an amazing human being. I love the way she thinks. She's a few years younger than me, but when we met, instantly connected and ever since have been such close friends. She's someone who I've always been able to go to and get amazing wisdom from. Her brain just works in a beautiful way, and she's just able to summarize things in such interesting ways and has the wisest advice. Now, this is still early on when I've done this interview and now doing this outro as to what we're going to be doing with these outros and stuff. But I've had an idea, and I'd like your feedback on it. I've been thinking about, because I mentioned in previous episodes that it would be cool to have some fan interaction, maybe having one of you come on the pod to tell a story. And one of the ways I thought that might work is, now what was I thinking of calling it? Neighbours in real life. So real life situations that have happened to you, because a lot of you are Neighbours fans, real life situations that have happened to you that are a storyline that could exist on Neighbours. So if you've got one of those, email us at justtackpod@gmail.com or go to the website justtack.com, and there's a contact section. You can send a message through there. And look, we'll see what comes through and whether any do or whether there's some good ones, and maybe we'll have you come on to tell it. Or if you don't want to be on the pod, I can tell it for you or something. Could be fun. Could be a different way to keep Neighbours alive, as you all so desperately want, but also involve you and get your stories up here, because I'd love to hear them. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. I love Charlotte Nicdao so much. She's a beautiful friend, and we're definitely going to have her back, especially once her films come out. She can talk about them and that kind of stuff. So I'll see you next time on Just Tack.